as well as equitable access to information resources. Again, Ms. Ms. Msauki has had an opportunity to coordinate and facilitate such workshops locally and at regional levels. Allow me at this point in moment to invite our presenter, Ms. Grace Msauki, to address us. Thank you very much. Ms. Msauki, you may take over. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you so much for the lovely welcome remarks, and thank you for the opportunity to share and exchange knowledge with colleagues and friends within the library fraternity and with the academia at the Fundura University of Science Education. So without any further ado, we can start on our webinar today. So I will share the screen. I'm not sure, is it visible to everyone?
Yes, I can see it from this point. I don't know others.
Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
All right. Thank you for that confirmation. So we are going to be discussing about personal branding in digital footprints. This is something that is not new. Well, I'm sure that almost all of us here have had an opportunity to hear about what personal branding is or digital branding is, and also the concept of digital footprints, especially in the digital era. So what we are going to be focusing on today is I would like this session to be more interactive, because we all deal with the digital technology in our daily lives, in our profession, and in all our undertakings, because this is more like the society that we are now living in. So we are going to have a scenario that we are going to discuss about, so that we see where we draw the line in our digital engagements or in our operations as digital citizens. Then we're also going to focus on what is digital identity and what is really digital branding. Then we're going to move on to why it is important for us to preserve our digital footprints and the reason why we are even focusing on digital branding. Then the how part, how can we achieve a positive digital brand or a digital brand that is appealing to anyone who will just come across your profile. Then we're also going to explore how to preserve it, because it's one thing to create a digital brand and it's another thing for you to preserve it. Because if we're looking at a digital brand, it's more like a living organism. So you have to continue to update it. In as much as digital technology continues to change in our daily lives, we should also continue to focus on how our digital brand is and how does it look, does it really portray who we are, as in what we want the online people to actually see or to perceive us as. So in our scenario, we have a character called Dev. So Dev is a fun-loving professional who has a formal job at company A, and Dev also loves his weekends. So it's a Friday night and he feels like it's time for him to let loose. After all, he is now off the clock and he can do whatever he likes, and it's his life. So still in his work uniform, he decides to go out to hang out, and he gets one too many while he's having fun. And he then ends up saying nasty things to those people, to other people who are at the same event. And whatever that he's saying is without respect for the next person. He bullies the waiters that are working there, and he also lashes at everyone who tries to restrain him. So you are also at the same event, and you actually encounter Dev in his fullness if he's during his weekends. So come Monday, Dev is one of the candidates who is in line for a post that you have advertised for. He is very qualified for the post and well experienced for the post. So the question that we want to discuss is, will you hire Dev? So I welcome comments or in the chat box, or if there's anyone who would like to say out what they will do. Will they hire Dev, or if they are not going to hire him, why would they not hire him? And if you are going to hire him, can you please also justify why you are hiring Dev? You can make use of the chat box, or you can raise your hand. Is that Professor David Damiaro? You can go ahead.
Thank you. It's David. I'm not a professor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I just want to give this into two scenarios. One, if my organization is integrity based in terms of is dealing with the high valued customers who might also patronize such places, I will not hire Dave. But that's one scenario. The second scenario is that firms are profit motive. At times, if I'm running an informal organization, I know that these trails by Dave might not be followed. But as you have indicated, in this high-tech, technologically based environment, what Dave has done will follow him until we break all the laptops and computers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution. So you're saying there are two scenarios. It's either you are going to hire him and you are not going to hire him based on the policies and the integrity of your organization. Is that so? I guess I got you right.
Yes.
Yes. So what you're simply saying is that you can't really separate Dev's social life and his professional life, because Dev will say to you, it was on a weekend, I was enjoying my life, I'm off the clock. Alice, you can go ahead with your comment. Alice?
We also have a comment, Ms. Msauki, from Dr. Mwenje. Via the chat.
Oh, okay. Dr. Mwenje is saying that I'll check his references. Okay, I have one more question for you, Dr. Mwenje. So let's say you check his references and they are all saying that in terms of his work, Dev can actually perform his work in a very impressive way. So will you hire Dev?
I say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. What I will need to do, because I cannot just dismiss Dave. It may be because of a number of things. That's why you get engaged in such. But we also look at what our organization says in terms of the conduct. So if Dave's conduct, I'm sure if we hire him or if we are to hire him, he has got to follow what our conducts or what our, what do we follow as an organization. If we say as an organization, we don't have to be ABC, I think that's what you also need to sign if I'm to hire you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that contribution. Alice, do you still have something to say? Okay. Stephen Sekea, you can go ahead.
Yes, sure. I think I concur with what Dr. Manje is saying. What Dave did perhaps the day before the interview, I would need perhaps to check and see whether it is his really character, and see whether it is in line with our company policy or organizational policy. If it is not in line with what we would want as an organization, then perhaps I won't hire him. But if it is something that perhaps it might be a day thing, just something which he did for that particular day, and it's not his really character, awesome character, I think I won't hire him in that particular case.
Okay. Thank you so much for your contribution. Tendai Mazia.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to talk. Okay, the first one is not a comment as such, but it's just something like I was thinking if possible, all the speakers could maybe make just a brief introduction of themselves, just to say your name and the institution you are coming from, so that we can get to know each other better. Okay, for me, my name is Tendai Mazia. I am from Universidade Aberta de Mozambique, Uni said in short. I'm the librarian there. And then coming to this comments about this short story. Yes, I think I agree with what the previous speaker said, that, okay, it depends with the, firstly, it may depend with the company policy. Dave was not yet part of the company when he did this. So companies, they differ. So one thing that might not be acceptable by at one company might be something that doesn't matter with another company. Then the other point is that what Dave does during his off-duty things, because this was at a pub, I would say, and there are certain behaviors that should not worry us if we do them at certain places, because such kind of behavior is very common at such kind of places, and we do not want to penalize somebody for behaving in that manner. It's like you find somebody putting on a swimming coat at a wedding, then that is a problem. But in the case of this one, I don't see anything wrong with that. Dave just has to be told when he joins the company that this is the kind of behavior that we expect at this company. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. One last comment, Gilchrist.
Yeah, my name is Gilchrist Dogwe. I work for the Zimbabwe Evidence and Foreign Policy Network. Yes, my issue is on the correlation between weekend out of station behavior and out of hours behavior and the institutional organizational policy. Is there a correlation between the two? If there's no correlation between what I do during the weekend and institutional policies, then there might not be need for any deterrent or any measure. You see, it also depends with how we expect, unless if the institution has policies that work, that outlines how I must behave during weekends. You see, but of course, I see there is an issue of a brand, a work uniform, which is a brand which Dave is representing at a pub. You see, which might be harming the institution. So there is need for all those at employment stage, where if you notice the uniform forces, the nurses are not allowed to go to a pub in uniform, to go to any funny places in uniform. They change the uniform, you know. So it's about policies anyway. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much for your contributions. It was such an enlightening session. So if we can move on, we can just hold our thoughts for now so that we can continue with the presentation and see where it gets us in terms of our digital brand. Okay. So we are discussing digital identity. So as we have encountered Dev is a typical digital citizen. He's an employee. He's a professional like all of us here in this session. And all of our comments were relating to his professional life and also his social life. And we cannot take away the fact that we are social beings. So in as much as Dev is a professional, he is also a social being who is entitled to his free time during the weekends. But I like what Gilchrist raised in that he is carrying a company's brand. He was wearing a uniform. So in whatever behavior or in whatever undertaking that Dave was taking during his personal time, he was carrying the organizational brand. So this is where we want to actually explore and see where we actually draw the line between your professional life and your social life. Because at the end of the day, we cannot separate these two lives that we are living. In as much as we can say, okay, fine, this is my social time. This is after work. I can post anything that I want on my social media page. It's my page. It's not a company's page. But we are forgetting that we carry an organizational brand wherever we go. Because in sometimes you can actually meet someone else outside your workplace. Maybe it's during the festive season. You've gone on a vacation in Zambia, but then you meet someone else who actually identifies you and says, I know you from Use. So in as much as you say, no, this is my vacation, but then that person has already identified you with the Use brand. So as we are engaging in our online spaces, we have to be mindful about the organizational brand and about also your personal brand, your family brand, and also whatever that you want people to view you as in any situation. So what we want to come to a point is more like having a mandala where we have a balance between our professional lives and our social lives. And the digital identity is what brings the two together if you are in online spaces. Striking a balance between the two lives that we have. It can either be the offline life. You can actually say, okay, fine. If I'm offline, this is the identity that I carry. But then now when you go online, you seem to be portraying a different identity to what you are when you are offline. You tend to say nasty comments because no one is going to actually come to you and say, don't do this. And you think that whatever that you do in online spaces can actually is separate from what you do when you are offline. So what let's just explore what a digital brand is. So it is your online or a digital representation of you in online spaces. It is how you present yourself and how you want others to view you or to perceive you based on your online behavioral traits. So not as you are building your profile, it can be a LinkedIn profile or a Twitter profile. You also have to be mindful that not only what I put out there builds my digital brand, but it is also what other people perceive you as by how you engage or how you relate to others in online spaces. So it's actually a match between what you want people to know about you and what people already know about you or what people have learned about you when you're in digital spaces. So you should come to the point where you can actually balance all those two perceptions, your perceptions and other people's perceptions, based on how you behave, based on how you present yourself, and based on how you look when you are in a digital platform. So every content that you share or every content that you create or pages that you visit while you're in online platforms contribute towards your digital brand or your digital identity. So there are some websites that we can visit while we are during the weekends or you are off. You have no one who's monitoring you, because in some institutions, you actually have the administrator to actually monitor the type of content that you are viewing. And there are some policies in other institutions that actually block you from visiting certain sites. But if you are in your own space at home, no one is limiting you. You are free to visit the different sites that you want to visit. But then one thing that you have to know is some of these sites that you visit, they collect information about you that can actually contribute to your digital brand without you knowing. So it's something that we have to be mindful as we are engaging in online spaces. So now, why are we really focusing on digital brand? I've got a very interesting cartoon there. It's an illustration, the kind of life that we already live, or the kind of life that we're going to be living in the future. We notice that this barman or this waiter is actually surprised. This guy was actually enjoying his coffee without any digital device. He's not carrying anything. I remember that a few years back, when you have your digital device in a cafe, or you are relaxing, or you are having lunch or dinner with someone else, people actually view you as antisocial. But then now in this cartoon, you can actually see that it's now the other way around. The waiter is even worried and surprised. What he says is, we notice that you don't have a phone or a tablet on you. We don't encourage that type of antisocial behavior here. So not being online is now being viewed as being antisocial. So this is a transition that we now have to be awake to, so that we are aware of how best we can relate, or how best we can survive in this kind of environment that we are now finding ourselves in. So as an organization, you'd see that an organization that doesn't have a website or any online presence, it tends to be questionable. You tend to ask yourself if it's an authentic organization, or if it's not someone who's trying to trick you, or if it's not an organization that is in existence. So if we as individuals can actually tie an organization that you hear about to its absence on online platforms as being questionable, so the same should also apply to us. Because once I encounter an organization that I'm not sure of, the first thing that I do is I try to look it out on Google or any search browser to see if it's authentic. So what we are simply doing is really saying that if you do not have an online presence, then you simply do not exist. So same applies to us. If you're not online, then you do not exist. So now we see that even the attention span of people is now getting shorter by the minute in the digital area. We want information as fast as we can. So I can't really spend so much time looking you up in different platforms to find out who you are. So you have to try as much as possible to bring your brand out there, so that the first thing that people see is your impressive brand. Because if now people start digging to other pages, what other people say about you, it might be something that is not true, or it might be something that doesn't really portray you as who you are. So your digital brand is more like a quick way to market yourself and your professional accomplishments to a bigger audience. So it allows you to control your own narrative. We know the dangers of a single side story, right? So in as much as people will say something about you, because already I know that there are people who actually perceive me in a different way that I believe that I am. So you have to try as much as possible to also tell your own narrative, to control your own narrative, to tell your own story from your own perspective. Then there's also cybervetting. I've spoken about it. Everyone has been looked up at some point in our lives or in our career. It's something that is now more like a norm, that if you meet someone today, I just go on Google and search his name to find out, what does this person do? So your digital brand is the first thing that people check about you before they even ask about you. Because sometimes you meet someone Then someone will just go on the phone and they just check your profile to see what it is that I can actually discuss with this person. So if there's nothing about you, it tends to be so difficult for you to attract the right type of people to strike collaborations with. Then there's also the automated decision making and profiling. This is whereby a artificial intelligence gathers more like data from different databases or different profiles about you. It matches those profiles so that it can come up with more like a profile, so that it can actually do anything without human interference, without your interference with anyone else who interferes. So it's just as simple as picking bits and pieces of who you are on the internet and what is represented, what represents you on the internet, and matches it to form a digital brand. So a digital brand, it makes you distinctive because, for example, we can all be lecturers, right? We can all be librarians, but then what is it that makes you unique? You might as well be a premium brand than just be a commodity. Yeah, be the basmati, not just being any type of rice. So you try as much as possible to just make yourself be unique so that people know who they can reach out to, because there are so many of us. But then at the end of the day, you want to compete with everyone else who holds the same qualification, who has published the same number of articles, who is well-renowned. You have to stand out. And one thing that you can do or do for yourself is to create a brand that is appealing, that makes you stand out, and that makes you the one that people would want to approach when it comes to a crisis. So it simply positions you for new opportunities. You're more like an expert in a niche domain. Once your brand is established, you can easily attract the kind of people that you want to attract. So the first step to building your digital brand is getting to know the platforms before you start using them. We know that if you want to appeal to the young audience, you make use of TikTok, you make use of Twitter, you make use of these platforms that where young people normally hang out on. Then if you want to appeal to professionals, you move on to LinkedIn. So these are some of the things that you have to play around as you're choosing the type of platform that you want to use for creating a digital brand. You also have to understand the privacy settings on these online platforms. For example, Twitter, which is now called X, has a binary privacy setting that allows you to have a public stream and also to have a private stream where you actually give people approval for them to view your content. But one shortcoming about X is that once someone else who has a public domain or a public account, comments on a post that has been made or posted by someone who has a private account or a protected account, that tweet becomes publicly visible. So you can actually post your content that you don't want many people to know. But if I have a public account and I access your content and I respond to it, that tweet becomes public. So what I'm saying is we have to be careful about what we are posting when we are online, because we cannot trust even the privacy settings, because my privacy settings cannot protect your privacy. So these are some of the examples that if you're a good communicator or you have a unique voice, you can try to use podcast. If you have on-screen charisma, then you can start a video blog or a YouTube channel. And if you're an amazing writer, then continue writing your stories. Go for a blog, contribute an article. do use a platform that accentuates or that makes you look good in front of people. Because if you are someone who's not really, who doesn't have on-screen charisma, then you have no business being on TikTok or being on a video blog. Try to maximize where you know that you are well skilled. So as you are building a digital brand, you have to sit down and really decide what makes you unique and what is your niche and what is your selling point as a professional. What differentiates you from the other professionals that are in the same space as you are? Then what are your values and what do you stand for as an individual? Because we cannot separate your offline life and your online life. Whatever values that you have in your offline life, carry them on in your online interactions, because you cannot separate the two. Then what do you want to be known for as a professional? Once you know what you really want, maximize on that. Try as much as possible to bring it out so that people would know you for who you are, not for who you are not. You can also focus on who your target audience is so that you can channel your messages in or package them in a way that appeals to your audience. Because at the end of the day, being on online platform and the whole essence of having a digital brand is to communicate who you are, or to communicate your brand or your profile to the right people, to the kind of people that you want to interact with your brand. So Dan Schwabel has 3 laws that he recommends for someone who wants to build a personal brand. So what he says is that you're supposed to be authentic. Be you. Because if you try to mimic someone else's profile, you'll see that you will never be a better version of someone else, but you can be a better version of yourself. So maximize on what you are, on who you are. It may seem very small in your eyes, but then once you bring it out there and you package it nicely, you have people who want to really know about how you are doing, how you are doing it, because we all have something to share. We all have something to give away. So focus on what you have, whether it's small or whether it's big. If I have published one publication, make that publication be known. Try to package it in different ways so that it speaks to what your skills are. Don't compare yourself to other people around you. Then try to be as transparent as possible. Be honest, because we know a few cases of people who decided to lie so that they can impress people. But at the end of the day, what now people know of you, or what your offline resume shows about you, becomes so different with what you are portraying in online spaces. It has to be the same. It's more like your offline is supposed to mirror your online, and your online is supposed to mirror your offline. So whatever that you know that, I know that we are in a tendency of exaggerating a few things so that it can seem more appealing, but we have to be careful about some of these things that we put out there and some of these achievements that we claim that we have achieved this, while we haven't. So be visible. So if you're not visible, you do not exist. Don't be humble. Brag about your achievements. That very small achievement that you think is small is actually a huge achievement that can open new doors for you. So share your achievement, brag about them. There's no one who's ever going to say, no, you're just making too much noise, or something like that. Be strategic as you are posting about your achievements. Amplify what you know, that if I amplify this about myself, it's going to attract the attention of whoever wants to support me, or whoever will want to collaborate me, because now we are looking into collaborations and partnerships. That's how we are now rolling. So you can share your ORCID ID, sorry, so that that's one way of amplifying your achievements. Make sure that it also appears in your social platforms so that people know about you. So that when people now want to know about the kind of research or your research interest or something that really makes you tick, they have somewhere else to refer to. Make it easy for people to know about you. Oh yeah, and remember that in building your digital brand, you still represent the organization that you work for. So in preserving, now we have built our digital brand. Now we are trying to preserve it and to maintain it. Consistency is key. Make a commitment to post at least once a week. If you do not have content, try once a month and be consistent about it. Be intentional about bringing out who you are in online spaces. Then think before you post. This is something that we know, all of us, and caring before sharing. You should be worried about the content that you share when you're in online spaces as it shapes your digital brand. Acknowledge the source. Most of us here are the academia and are librarians. I will not stress much about this. If you use someone else's ideas, remember to just acknowledge them. If you don't know who the author is, you might as well save to say stolen so that people know that it's not really your original idea. No one will actually penalize you if you say that. And also be human, exercise etiquette, which is simple online etiquette. Be kind always. And remember that in whatever message that you post, at the end of whoever is going to read your message, it's actually a human being who is feeling. So be mindful of that and apply the golden rule. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you as you are interacting in digital spaces. So you should also know where to draw the line. Like in the scenario that we explored, being authentic, but also protect your privacy. In your bid to also express your freedom of to express yourself, which is your right. Make sure that you are not expressing yourself and then also infringing in other people's right to privacy. You should always seek consent. If you are posting a group picture, seek consent from all those people with faces that are on the picture before you post it. It's just kind. And if someone takes you or your posts or post content that tarnishes your image, you can simply ask them to untag you, because we do not want anything that tarnishes the image that you are really working so hard to building and to preserving. Then verify your facts. The cyber protection, and the cyber and data protection law that we now have penalizes people who spread misinformation. So let's be on the right side of the law, verify your facts, and preserve your digital footprint. And if we're talking about digital footprints, we're talking about the active digital footprints, the ones that you put out there, that you are responsible for. And we also are looking at the passive ones that are collected by your browser without your knowledge. So you have to always review some of these cookie settings that we just say yes to when we're in online spaces, simply because we just want to move on to the next page and we don't want to read all those things that the website is bringing out to you. So this is an interesting screenshot about some of the information that the browser collects about you without your knowledge: your IP address, your cookie settings, your battery level, your mouse movement, the type of device that you are using. So you'll see that there's quite already a lot of information about you that is being collected by your browser out there. So as you are also creating a digital brand, or as you are posting or engaging in online engagements, make sure that you post only the things that you want people to know about you. I know that there are sometimes when you can be so excited about posting something and then you later on decide to pull it down, but you don't know who has already screenshotted some of these things. So you can't really control what someone else is going to put out there, but you can control about what you put out there. So one thing you can use to check on what people are saying about you is to Google your name from time to time, so that you can see what people are really saying about you out there, and or use Google Alert to get notifications via email when your name is mentioned or when some of your work is mentioned. Then there are also reputation management software out there that can assist you in finding anything that might be detrimental to you. So there's myactivity.com, lists some of the online activities that you do if you're using the Google browser or Chrome browser. Then there is brainyourself.com. In brainyourself.com, you can go there and type your name. So it can extract all the information that has been said about you or something that has been mentioned about you. Then there are also other platforms that will then rate your reputation from 1 to 10, if it's good or if it's bad. So these are all the platforms that are there online that can help you manage your digital brand. So I think that's the end of my presentation, short and brief. I don't know if there are any questions. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Alice. I see in the comment that you said we should consider how he is treating others. I'm not sure if you were referring to Dave. Oh, yes. He said, she says, I believe it's a sign we do not hire such people. He is bound to honor duty since he is in a company's uniform. Thank you so much for that, Alice. Yeah, so from what we have learned is that you cannot really separate between your professional life and your social life in as much as you want to separate it. It's not possible. So you have to find a way of making sure that as you are presenting yourself, as you are carrying yourself around, you protect your personal brand, your company's brand, your family's brand, everything that is connected to you. Make sure that you should also not underestimate your network, because you don't know who knows another person. Yes, you can go ahead, Norman. It can be a comment, it can be a contribution. We are welcome to that.
Thank you, Grace.
Welcome.
My laptop was logged in by my cousin. My name is Aryo Mokonzwe. Thank you for the quite short presentation. But what I wanted to comment, on the issue of say brand yourself digitally, becoming your digital identity. I was looking at other things like this, the wide spectrum of digital identity, with the coming on of the artificial intelligence, that can actually either ruin you or promote your digital identity. Now that there's a lot of artificial intelligence going on, and there's some people posting their pictures, their images, their life history on whatever platform, and ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence software are harvesting that kind of information, and can actually create a bad or a negative impact on someone's social life. Like you may post your kid while he was actually he or she was 2 years old, 3 years old. Yeah. That image is going to maybe activated, or maybe it's going to be abused by whoever gets that information on that image. So I think it's, artificial intelligence actually is coming in, and actually they say that it's going to overtake Google in the next coming years to come. So it's not updated, it's only updated up to 2021. So what's your take on artificial intelligence as part of branding yourself in terms of digital brand, personal brand? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Norman, for bringing that up. Yeah, artificial intelligence is really something that is really topical. Well, you can be surprised that you can actually go on an AI platform and actually write a text like I want a picture of this and this and this, and then it just develops an image based on what you have requested in text. Then there are deep fakes where someone can take my face right now and then merge it with a different voice altogether. So yeah, these are issues of concern as you are posting or putting your information out there in digital spaces or on the internet or on your profile. This is something that you have to be mindful about. Then I've noticed that on LinkedIn, there's also been quite a lot of talk when it comes to ethics and regulations when it comes to AI. So which means it's something that we really have to work to. It's something that is there. It's something that is going to really take over our lives. So we have to position ourselves and we have to be up to date with what is happening in terms of technology. Yeah, thank you so much, Prosper Machu. Yes, that's very true. In this digital world, it is really easy to get your brand tarnished, either intentionally or unintentionally. Yes, we must be careful all the time. So, and are there any other comments, any other contributions, or any experiences that you have come across when it comes to digital branding? Well, I think there are no more comments or contributions, so I will hand over to the moderator. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you, colleagues. And thank you so much, Use, for this webinar. It was quite insightful. I also got to learn a lot from my colleagues. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Grace, for such a detailed presentation, quite informative indeed. Yes, as much as we would love to brand digitally as a quick way to market ourselves and perhaps attain the professional excellence that we may want, we have rightfully said that we need to know the platforms before using them. And also, if we consider doing that, we need to be constant in our posting and remember to acknowledge source, lest we'll be charged of academic theft, that's plagiarism. And I've treasured this again. Remember, you still represent your organization. We cannot really separate the two completely. There's a thin line between the two, so we have treasured that. Thank you so much for such a presentation. And indeed, it has been a day we have profited, made so much profit with regards to what you have presented to us. So I'll now hand over to Mr. Tsekea, the Buse sub-librarian, for a brief wrap-up and perhaps, and again, the closing remarks. Mr. Tsekea.
Thank you very much, our Master of Ceremony, Mr. Majojo, for those wonderful words. Thank you very much, our facilitator, Miss Grace Msauki. We really appreciate what you have covered. We have learned a lot of things, and I think we are going to improve as we go forward. Before we just let you go, I don't know if from colleagues there are any other burning issues that we think needs to be addressed. We still have about 5 or so minutes before we call it a day. If not, then perhaps allow me just to say a few closing remarks. Our distinguished facilitator, Ms. Msauki, our Buse academic staff, fellow professionals in the information field, on behalf of the library department and Buse, it is indeed my pleasure to make a few closing remarks and vote of thanks to express my gratitude to all those who have made this event a reality. Let me begin by thanking our facilitator. I want to express my sincere gratitude to you, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation you have made. This will certainly go a long way in improving how we manage our behavior on the digital platforms. I want to sincerely thank you for sparing your precious time to prepare for the presentation and for being with us here. For your information, colleagues, Ms. Msauk is in the US at the moment, and you all agree with me that because of our time differences, they are still perhaps in the early hours of 13 September. I think you saw that the room that she is in is too dark. And thank you very much for agreeing to be with us. I also want to extend my gratitude to the university and the department in particular for arranging this workshop for us. This is a good support for continuous professional development. We very much welcome this workshop. This workshop goes a long way in improving how we do our work. And in the area of personal branding and digital footprint, we are really going to change the way how we do our things. I also want to promise the facilitator that going forward, we'll try to do things differently, and we'll also share with colleagues in the information fraternity and other staff members, perhaps who could not make it to be with us today. And lastly, I would want to thank the participants. You know, a workshop without the participants will not be a workshop at all. You are a key stakeholder. Thank you very much for being with us. I hope when we go for another workshop in the future, you will always be there to support us. And I hope you have just picked one thing that you do differently. And that one thing, just work on it, master it, and adopt it or make some adjustments so as to suit what you would want to do or what your department would want you to do. At the end of it all, we want to make our organizations, our universities, our institutions grow, our professions grow. We want to do things differently. Lastly, I want to sincerely thank you, all the participants and our facilitator. Every contribution you have done will be taken on board. We will try by all means to improve the way how we do. Do enjoy the rest of your day. We have come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much. Dr. Damiano and Dr. Ngwenje, you may inbox me later on after the webinar. We just want to share something with you later on. Thank you very much for being with us today. We have come to the end of our workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Morning and thank you.